All right, my friends, today we are going to get started. We're going to draw some Indian corn, otherwise known as flint corn. We are going to draw them today and then we will color them next week so that your hand doesn't end up cramping up, because I know you're doing all of your testing this week. So can't wait to see what you do. Have fun.
All right, first grade, we are going to go ahead and draw our Indian corn or our flint corn. For this, you can use a pencil and an eraser and a Sharpie, or if you're feeling really confident, you can just use a Sharpie. I'm just going to use a Sharpie today so you can see it better on the camera. If you choose to use a pencil, you can go ahead and use that pencil and then just trace over it with your Sharpie. And we're going to start with this big U shape. And then when you're all done with your pencil drawings, if you choose to use the pencil first, you'll just trace over it with the Sharpie. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is draw that big U shape right in the middle. And that's going to be our first ear of corn. Then we're going to draw a slightly curved line on top. Okay, we're going to draw another one, kind of off to an angle, and we're going to make it look like it's overlapping. So it's going to look like it's a little bit behind our first ear of corn. So see how it's almost like a backwards J, and it comes here. And we're going to add that same sort of curved line. And we'll do the same thing over here. We don't want them to look all the same, so I'm going to make this one look a little bit taller than our last one. And I'm going to make the top have that same slight curve. Okay, now we want to add the husk. The husk was that hard outer shell. To get that, we're going to go up from our bottom and draw that sort of S curve. And we'll bring it back down and make it wider at the bottom. So it's kind of like a triangle, but it's a squiggly triangle. We're going to do the same thing again. And they can be wiggly in any direction. Notice how I'm making my husks overlap too. I ended it here rather than bringing it all the way down. I'm going to do that again with some of my other husks, where I'm going to start them up here, give them the wiggly lines, so that it looks like there are a bunch of husks that have been peeled up from our corn and pulled back and are ready to show off all of our shiny kernels. Now, to do our corn kernels, we're going to go ahead and start with this middle one. The biggest mistake I see is that people start drawing their corn kernels really small. So I'll see corn kernels like this, very tiny. Now that's way too small. We want to try to get them to be as big as the pad of our finger. So where this first crack is, we want it to be about that big, from the end of your finger to this first line of your finger. That's pretty big. If I were to go like this and stamp those kernels. So I'm going to start right here in the middle and draw an oval. See, I can fit that whole finger right in there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go right down the middle, drawing these big ovals. Watch that they don't get smaller as you go down. You want to make sure they stay nice and big. All right. See what I did at the bottom? I sort of made it look like it just sort of came to the edge. Now, we're going to work on one side, and we're going to make those kernels come off to the edge by drawing sort of half kernels, nice and big again, so I can fit my finger in there. If it's easier for you, you can always turn your page and do it this way. Then you'll just be drawing more of those U shapes. A lot of people find it easier to work this way. When you're working on art, you can turn your page any direction. You don't have to keep it up and down just because that's the way the viewer will look at it. Okay, we're going to put another row. I'm going to take it right to the edge. I'm keeping that line here, that invisible line, to make my kernels look like they're all about the same size. Now I'm going to put in one more row of sort of half kernels. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of our kernels on all 3 ears, and then I'll come back. Okay, anywhere that we have a little edge here with no corn kernel, we're going to color it black. Just go in and get those little edges. We want to make sure that we are covering the whole thing. Look at this little triangles on the edges, these little triangles on the edges. There's no white showing through. And that just sort of makes the corn kernels pop out a little bit more. All right, as soon as we're done with this, we are done for this week. We have drawn our Indian corn or flint corn, whichever you care to call it. And next week we are going to add color. Now, if you want to look at that presentation one more time, you want to take a look at those pictures, you can either watch that video from Monday again, or you can look at that PowerPoint presentation. I put that under Monday's information as well, so you can see that there is another another presentation on Schoology with just the pictures. I might even add another little husk here. All right, I hope that you have fun, and I can't wait to see your Indian corn.